Hey, gang. So I'm back, and welcome to Mr. Wakefield's Home Shop. I'm going to try to show you the drill press here, which they talked about in your packet that we just read that first page on. And they said there's two inputs, two outputs. So let's talk inputs and outputs and what happens, how things change. Because this is when we talk about mechanisms, we are talking about what they change. And we're going to get into that mechanisms can change four different things. And then one of those things that can change is a type of movement. And there's four different types of movement. So our learning target for this whole lesson, basically, this whole packet, if you come out of this knowing that, hey, mechanisms can change four things. What are those four things? We're going to get to that. There's four different types of movement. What are those four different types of movement? You can get those. You have those. You know those. You're going to be good. So the drill press. It says there's two types. There's two inputs, two outputs. So there's basically two different things going on. One is the drill bit spinning, the chuck. So we're talking about something here, hopefully, that you kind of know. You've all used a drill press, or most of you at least, if you had PLTW in sixth and seventh grade. In sixth grade, you use a drill press to drill a real small hole. Like if I pull out some drill bits here and you drilled an 1/8 inch hole, which was this size, pretty small, when you made your CO2 cars. You drilled with this to make your axle holes. Then last year, I don't have one here, one to grab. I don't have them quite that big at home. You used that really big 2¼ inch, what's called a Forstner bit, to drill a really big hole for your speaker project. So two pretty different operations. And the big thing there is needed to slow down the machine for that really big bit. Because if you drilled as fast on that big bit as you did on the small one, even my jig that I made for you, it wouldn't have held, or there wouldn't have been enough torque. The drill press would have just stopped. And some of you witnessed that anyways on the maple, because the maple's so hard that sometimes your drill bit would just stop and you'd have to let it up and bring it back down to get it going again. That's a torque thing. Okay, we sacrifice speed to gain torque, or we sacrifice torque to gain speed, and that's what you do on your bike too, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So on the drill press here, let's say right here, okay, this is one of our inputs, right? This is called the feed lever. This is what's called rotary motion. It's spinning. Anytime you have a spinning motion, it's rotary. So our input here is rotary motion. Our output is what? Watch what happens. I'm gonna get my arm out of the way. Watch what happens to the chuck. It goes up and down, right? It goes down when I go that way. It goes up when I go that way. Therefore, that is called linear motion because it's going one direction in a line. Your bike, when you ride your bike, it's linear going down the road. It's going in one direction, okay? So we are converting the mechanism in here. Right now, we don't even care about what this mechanism is, but this mechanism in here is converting rotary motion to linear motion. That's the main gist. Is it changing torque and speed? Probably, but that's something for later. It gets a little harder to talk about that. Now, the other movement that's happening here, the other change is input and output is what? The drill bit spinning, okay? So the spinning of the chuck, where's the input for that? Well, the input would be the electric motor, right? The electric motor spins. When I turn this on, here's what happens. I'll open this up. Here's where we adjust speed. And it's a little bit hard for you to see here, but I think you can see it. Right here, there's a pulley. It's way down at the bottom right now. So mine is set right now. There's a chart right here. Mine is set the slowest it goes, 500. I was cutting these little plugs, they're called, these things, to plug up screw holes. And I needed pretty good torque because it's cutting quite a bit. So I slowed it way down. If I move it up to the top, okay, I've changed my input size. My input would be big, my output would be small. That's going to give me a fast speed. And this chart right here tells me The top one is 3,100 RPMs. The bottom one is 500 RPMs, so it turns way slower. Just like when you ride your bike. So think about riding your bike. If you put the chain on a big gear on the front, the big sprocket on the front, and a small sprocket in the back, what gear is that? Is that a high gear or a low gear? That is the highest gear you have. So when you have a big input and a small output, you are increasing speed. If you go the opposite, you're going to increase torque. So right now, this is increasing torque because I have a small input, big output. So my final output here is what? The motor spins. It spins this pulley, which makes the belt spin, which spins the other pulley, which spins the chuck. Now, did I change type of movement? No, because the input of the electric motor is rotary motion. The output is rotary motion. But what did I change? I changed speed and torque. So there's 4 different things a mechanism can change. And we're going to get into this when we look at the PowerPoint in a minute. 4 things a mechanism can change. One is speed and torque, which this did. Okay. The other 2 are type of movement and I got stuck here. Sorry, got stuck there. I think we're going now. Okay, so speed, direction, okay, speed and torque, this changed. This changed type of movement from rotary to linear. It's also changing the direction of movement, and you'll see this some more later. We're putting movement in this way, and it's coming out this way. This redirected movement. You have the movement here from the motor, and then the pulley system change it to up here. Okay, so that's changing the direction of the movement. We'll see that more a little bit later. So this is the drill press to hopefully give you an idea on the 4 different types of movement and the 4 things a mechanism can change. Now I'm going to do in a little bit is show you my bike and how that happens on a bike also, because that's something else you're familiar